After a couple years, 3 to 5, getting 3 to 5 stories out like that, people are going to maybe get 3 to 5 impressions, maybe even a little more of your organization each year. They're going to get a little nut of that idea of what you do. And they'll start on kind of recognizing your name and just understanding your organization. I talk about public opinion and just that idea as like a giant boulder, right? And I tell my students that each one of your press releases and each one of your publications is just a little tap that kind of gets that boulder going in a particular direction. So you just want to keep that up steady and solid over the course of the year and just make sure people know what's going on.
Isn't that like the 8-time rule? I see your name 8 times, I'll remember you.
Yeah, exactly.
So each one of those little press releases is one of those 8, and over the course of a year, if you get your name in front of someone 8 times,
exactly,
they'll start going, oh yeah, I think I've heard of that guy or that business.
No, exactly. I mean, they see the feature story in the Sun in the Sunday business section. They hear the little featurette on KNAU or a radio station, and then they see you mentioned on one of the social media sites.
Like coming to a meeting like this is like a one-time press release of you being with even a small group. Just being here, I just did a press release to this group of people to remember who I am.
Exactly right. Yep, that's exactly what we're doing. Yeah, so you know, just for fun, let's run through the and if you guys want to share, we can kind of run through the elements of newsworthiness as kind of the standard stuff. But think about your stories, and maybe you could grade each one of your little events and see if these events have some combination of these elements of newsworthiness, right? So the first one's timeliness. And events, grand openings, expansions, construction, something's happening, anniversaries, I might have already said that. These are timeliness type issues. And if it's timely and you get it out to journalists before the event happens, which is a key that most people forget, you're probably going to get a little something, right? Proximity. This is geographic proximity. It's so again, we're in a Flagstaff community. If you're a Flagstaff-based business, if you're doing something that's fairly relevant, that's your geographic proximity right there. So you want to look at that business page editor because we're all business people, right? And we're doing something here in town. Impact. The story affects the journalist readers. You know, I always tell my students, you know, not to send your quilting press releases to Snowboarder magazine, you know, and stuff like that, which is another thing we forget a lot. You know, the story affects that journalist reader, so it's impact more on a personal level than a geographic level. This is what they do. So we have rock climbing, and skiing, and quilting, and different types of enthusiasts, and if you have something that's relevant to them.
That has history of their values, that's
yeah, exactly. Exactly right. Like you're involved in the Celtic Music Festival, right? So you'll have an impact proximity-wise because you're here in Flagstaff, but you also have an impact to that values level to people throughout the region because they like Celtic music. So you'll also be getting people in Los Angeles who can sell to be that type of enthusiast. Unusual is one that I added from the list that came in my textbook. This, I think, is one of the strongest. I always eat this up. And if there's a national story or a story of kind of that's in the public discourse, and you can provide a unique or local angle to that story, they're going to eat that up. That seems like an incredibly powerful thing. For me, I have such a travel background. We always did the closer to home story when gas prices went high, you know, and we target the Phoenix market with that. You know, national gas prices are higher, the economy's bad, people are staying closer to home. Here we are, right? This is our local angle on that type of story. And that always worked real well for me.
That's not unusual.
I don't know the right word for that, yeah, but unique or unusual, I got to find a better word for that.
Because that's not like a out-of-the-box kind of story.
Right, exactly.
I would say, you know, like, man blows up gas station to protest gas prices would be...
Oh, I read the wrong word. Actually, uniqueness is what I identified this one. I'm sorry.
All right,
You're totally right to call me on that, Joe.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
I was
Yep.
The other words I use are rarity.
Right, exactly.
Also, the one that's more gas prices are up or down is change in status quo.
Yep.
You know, if you're going along forever at the same level, and suddenly something changes, that's can often be newsworthy.
Right. Yeah, so excuse me, but uniqueness. But the idea is the same, is this idea if you can put a unique angle or unique spin on a kind of a larger national story, that local media is going to eat you up, or that regional media. Here's the idea of unusual, and that's the one. That's the man bites dog, right? Don't tell me if a dog bites man. That happens every day, right? So if a man bites a dog, that's news.
Or if a man bites another man's face off.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, that made the rounds, didn't it? That was
everyone heard about that, yeah.
That was particularly gnarly.
So gross.
And you know, kind of more on that thing that had the conflict value too, right? So any type of conflict tends to have a little bit of newsworthiness. We like conflict in journalism, and then the idea of celebrity or prominence. And for this, I remember the museum just was using their Ted Dancy connection just endlessly a couple of years ago, and it worked well for them. It's like they couldn't stop themselves from covering that. They had to go on the front page. So, but that's my 2 bits. So if you want to look, I'm going to do a little bit more here, and I'll move into your territory. So I'm looking forward to your input. But for me, if you could, if you rate each of your stories on each of those events coming up, and you can get maybe 2 or 3, maybe even more. The more of those elements of newsworthiness that you get, the more likely you're going to find a degree of coverage. And maybe if you only have one, look at that story maybe a little more closely and see if you can bring some of these different elements of newsworthiness into the story, because it's probably doable.